Have you ever wondered why some people achieve greatness while others stay stuck in the same place for years? It isn't luck and it isn't talent. It's the standard they set for themselves. The truth is, your life rises or falls to the level of your standards. If you accept less, you'll get less. But the moment you decide that average is no longer enough, you unlock a new version of yourself. In this video, we'll uncover how raising your standard is the real secret to achieving more and living an extraordinary life. The power of standards. Every life is shaped not by what we want, but by what we are willing to accept. Think about it. Everyone wants success, health, love, financial freedom, and happiness. But why is it that only a few people actually achieve those things? It isn't because they are luckier or more blessed. It's because they decided to raise their standards. They refused to settle for mediocrity. They refused to accept excuses. They drew a line in the sand and said, "This is who I am, and this is what I demand of my life." Your standard is the invisible ceiling that determines how far you can go. If your standard is simply to get by, then life will give you just enough to survive. But if your standard is excellence, if your standard is to push yourself beyond average, then life begins to expand in ways you never thought possible. The universe doesn't reward wishful thinking. It rewards aligned action, and that action is born from the standards you hold. Imagine two people with the same talent. One person says, "I'll do my best if I feel like it." The other says, "I will not rest until I give my all." Who do you think grows faster? Who do you think achieves more? Talent alone isn't the deciding factor. Standards are. Your standards define your discipline, your focus, and your persistence. The reason so many people feel stuck is because they've lowered their standards over time. They accepted just enough in their relationships, just enough in their health, just enough in their goals, and slowly that became their new normal. But here's the empowering truth. The moment you raise your standard, your life begins to change instantly. Not next year, not next month, immediately. Because when you raise your standard, you change the rules you play by. You stop tolerating things that drain you. You stop making excuses for why you can't. You stop waiting for permission, and you start demanding more from yourself. Think of the people you admire most. The great leaders, athletes, innovators, or spiritual teachers. What sets them apart? They simply refused to settle. They demanded more of themselves than the world expected. That's why their lives shine as examples of what's possible. Now, raising your standard doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean you'll never stumble. What it means is you'll no longer accept less than what you're capable of. It means you'll get back up faster, push harder, and stay committed longer. It means you'll hold yourself accountable even when no one else is watching. The truth is simple. Your life is a reflection of your standards. If you want more, demand more. From yourself first. Because when you raise your standard, you don't just change your habits, you change your identity. And that shift is the foundation of true success. Break free from limitations. When you make the choice to raise your standard, the first challenge you face isn't the world outside, it's the world inside. Your mind is filled with beliefs, excuses, and fears that have kept you comfortable for far too long. And comfort, while it feels safe, is actually the greatest enemy of growth. To achieve more, you must break free from the limitations you've unconsciously accepted as truth. Think about how often we convince ourselves of lies. I'm not good enough. I don't have the resources. People like me can't succeed. These are not facts. They are stories. And the more you repeat them, the more you live trapped inside a prison built by your own words. But the moment you raise your standard, you stop repeating those lies. You declare a new story. I am capable, I am worthy, and I will no longer be defined by limitations. Breaking free from limitations requires awareness. You must recognize where in your life you've been settling. Have you accepted toxic relationships because you were afraid of being alone? Have you neglected your health because you told yourself you're too busy? Have you avoided pursuing your dreams because failure seemed too painful? These are the invisible chains that hold you back. And they remain unbroken until you decide your standard will no longer allow them. The truth is, mediocrity is not inherited, it's chosen. You are not born to live an average life. Deep inside you is the same spirit that has driven leaders, creators, and visionaries throughout history. But if you let fear control you, you silence that spirit. Raising your standard is an act of rebellion against fear. It is saying, I will no longer let excuses dictate my destiny. And here's the beautiful part. The moment you break free from one limitation, it creates a ripple effect. When you prove to yourself that you can do more than you thought, you gain confidence. That confidence fuels courage, and that courage fuels action. Suddenly, things that once seemed impossible begin to feel natural. That's the power of a raised standard. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes what you believe is possible. But make no mistake, breaking free from limitations is not easy. It requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires the willingness to feel discomfort and step into the unknown. Yet, this discomfort is the birthplace of growth. Diamonds are formed under pressure, muscles are built through resistance, and character is forged in the fire of challenges. If you want to live a life that inspires others, you must stop letting limitations define you. Instead, use them as stepping stones to rise higher. Every time you feel resistance, remind yourself, this is where growth begins. Every time you hear the whisper of fear, respond with action. Every time you feel the pull of mediocrity, raise your standard again and again. Because the truth is this, your limitations only exist for as long as you allow them to. Once you decide you're bigger than your excuses, nothing can stop you from achieving more. Step into your higher self. Raising your standard is not just about achieving goals. It's about stepping into your higher self, the version of you that was always meant to exist. Deep inside, you already know you are capable of more. You felt the quiet whisper in your soul, urging you to grow, to rise, to expand. That voice is your higher self calling you forward. The question is, will you listen? When you choose to raise your standard, you begin to align your daily actions with that higher self. No longer are you satisfied with shortcuts, excuses, or good enough. Instead, you choose discipline when comfort tempts you. You choose consistency when distractions try to pull you off track. You choose faith when fear tells you to stop. Every one of those choices is a vote for the person you're becoming. Stepping into your higher self requires courage because it means leaving behind the identity you've outgrown. Many people stay trapped, not because they lack potential, but because they cling to who they used to be. They hold on to old habits, old labels, old stories. But your higher self cannot be reached while carrying the weight of your old self. To rise higher, you must release what no longer serves you. This is why raising your standard is spiritual at its core. It's not just about achieving external success. It's about awakening your inner power. It's about realizing you are not meant to live small, but to reflect the greatness planted inside you by God, the universe, or whatever you believe in. When you align with that truth, you begin to live with purpose, and purpose is what transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary achievement. Your higher self is not afraid of challenges. It thrives on them. Your higher self doesn't settle for mediocrity. It seeks mastery. Your higher self doesn't wait for opportunities. It creates them. And when you raise your standard, you shift from living reactively to living intentionally. You stop being a passive participant in your life, and you become the author of your destiny. Of course, this journey won't always be easy. You will face setbacks. You will face doubts. You will face moments when it feels easier to fall back into your old patterns. But remember this, your higher self is not defined by perfection. It is defined by persistence. Each time you get back up after a failure, you are living as your higher self. Each time you push through fear, you are proving to yourself that you are capable of more. Ultimately, raising your standard means choosing to live as the best version of yourself, not someday, but today. Because transformation doesn't happen in the future, it happens in the present moment, in the choices you make right now. Your higher self is not waiting for you to be ready, it's waiting for you to decide. So step into that version of you, let go of what no longer aligns. Live with courage, with discipline, with faith. And remember, when you raise your standard and step into your higher self, you don't just change your life, you inspire everyone around you to rise as well. As we come to the close of this message, let's bring everything together. The secret to achieving more in life has never been about luck, talent, or even timing. It has always been about the standard you set for yourself. Your standard is the silent contract you write with life. It determines how much effort you give, how much discipline you practice, and how much you're willing to grow. If you settle for average, life will give you average. But the moment you raise your standard, you invite transformation. Raising your standard is about drawing a line in the sand and saying, I will no longer accept less than what I'm capable of. It is a shift in identity, not just in behavior. Because when you change your standard, you don't just change what you do, you change who you are. You stop living in survival mode and start living in expansion. You stop waiting for circumstances to improve and start creating the future you desire. The truth is, life will always test your commitment. The world won't hand you success just because you wish for it. But when your standard is high enough, no setback can stop you. You'll keep moving forward because anything less simply isn't acceptable anymore. That's the power of living by higher standards. You don't negotiate with excuses. You rise no matter how hard the climb. And remember, raising your standard isn't about chasing perfection. It's about progress, persistence, and alignment with your higher self. It's about asking more of yourself, not because the world demands it, but because your soul does. It's about living in such a way that when you look back, you can proudly say, I gave my all. I refused to settle. I lived fully. So here's the challenge for you. Take one area of your life, just one, and raise your standard today. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your work ethic. Maybe it's your mindset, your relationships, or your spiritual growth. Decide right now that you will no longer accept the bare minimum. Commit to excellence. Commit to discipline. Commit to becoming the version of you that inspires even your future self. Because here's the ultimate truth. Raising your standard isn't just about achieving more. It's about becoming more. And when you become more, life opens up in ways you never imagined. Opportunities appear, doors open, and your influence expands. But most importantly, you live a life of meaning, power, and purpose. So stop settling for less. Refuse to live in the shadows of your potential. Step boldly into the light of your higher self. Demand more from yourself because you were created for greatness. And when you raise your standard, you don't just change your life. You set an example that gives others permission to rise as well. The secret is simple, but the choice is yours. Raise your standard today and watch how everything in your life begins to rise with it.